What is philosophy making sense of today, given what the mainstream philosophical movement is, for the most part, analytic philosophy in the English-speaking world? What is it capturing? Is it capturing an aspect of our time?
You know what's my point here? That I nonetheless have some hopes that a new era is slowly beginning also in philosophy. Till 20 years ago, I would say, it's approximate, we had a clear division between analytic philosophy, which also got mixed with brain sciences and so on. So I know in some American big universities, you had this paradox that if you dissect the brain of a rat, it's philosophy. If you study Hegel, it's literature. They were saying it. So we had this attitude best expressed in the introduction to the last book by Stephen Hawking. Although he simplified it very much, but at some point he was right. The result of this, what we called discourse analysis, predominance in continental orientation, is that many basic, let's call them naively, big metaphysical questions. Does the universe have an origin or end? Do we have free will? You look in sciences for the answer. Does the universe have an origin? That's what quantum physics cosmology is. Do we have free will? That's what cognitive sciences are trying to do. On the other hand, the continental orientation got more and more lost into what I call transcendental historicism. That many others were doing the same thing, but the clear case is for me here somebody like Michel Foucault. If you were to ask him, for example, what I will be asked in a debate now, is there objective morality? His answer would have been, all we can say is that to raise such a question is possible only within a certain episteme, a certain horizon of meaning. Such a question wouldn't even have meaning in medieval times, where in some sense morality was objective, inscribed into... So for him, Germans have this beautiful word, unhintergehbar, which means you cannot go behind. The ultimate horizon is what Foucault calls episteme, the horizon of knowledge through which we observe in reality and interact with it. And there are, of course, great examples. Like with modern science, it's not just I believe in science, that it's more true, is that this difference emerged between reality out there and meanings we project into it. So it's not just that science is more truthful. The meaning of what is nature, of what is truth, changed. And so the result, unfortunately, is that the so-called deconstructionism or this historicist hermeneutics, all you can do is describe, analyze the horizon of meaning within which we move, and let's call them naively, the big questions are simply dismissed as irrelevant. I see trends lately to move beyond this at different levels, and with many of them I am even caught in polemics. For example, this object-oriented ontology and so on and so on. But I think the general direction is the right one. And my second point here is that I find hope. Isn't it that till now, by now I mean 30, 40 years, the latest advances in digital manipulations, brain sciences, and so on, till now, with all the new problems like nuclear explosions, somehow basically the old morality still fitted. You could rely to it. But with what is happening now, for example, that's why pandemic interested me. You know that the big debate, masks, yes or no, social distancing, this was at some level a properly philosophical debate if we obey all the injunctions of doctors, healthcare institutions, are we still free or not? Do we still retain our human dignity? So here is my optimism. As bad as things look, we will need philosophy more than ever, because, again, in our everyday problems, it began with abortion. It's basically almost a philosophical problem, you know. Is it already a living being? Do we have the right or not? So these are not good news, because as Hegel knew it already in his early System der Sittlichkeit, system of customs, mores, times when philosophy is needed are difficult times, are times of trouble. But I don't worry about us philosophers becoming useless, because that's the last point. I don't expect from philosophers solutions. The big problem today is rather that when we confront new phenomena, we approach the problem in the old terms. I think the biggest role philosophy can do today is to correct, or at least make us think of how we approach the problems. That's why, as a philosopher, for example, I oppose deep ecology, because I think it's secretly still radically anthropocentric. You know, it's this idea that somehow rivers and forests have their rights. Yes, but they don't know it. So we humans, even if they emphasize we are just one of the species, but we are the only ones who have the universal view. This is, I think, and don't underestimate this, the big role of philosophy today, not to offer solutions, but to enable us to ask the right questions. Mystifications begin already at this level, when we are aware of a problem but formulate it in the wrong way.